Hey, Ken Dunn here. Thanks for coming back to the show. We're really excited about my guest on the show today. We're here to talk to Captain Retired Donald J. Smith about his incredible new book, When Dreams Take Flight. Welcome to the show. Thanks for being here.
Well, thanks for inviting me. I'm glad to be here.
So, can I call you Don or should I stick with Captain?
Well, you can say sir.
Okay, sir. Hey, I've been fascinated by this whole story. It can be taken on so many different levels. You have an amazing story that starts off in the ghettos of Mexico, really, through a meandering journey that saw you in active service with the American Air Force in the Cold War, and then on to commanding 747 jumbo jets. In and of itself, it's enough, Don. What made you write a book?
Well, I thought that it was so interesting that from the poverty that I grew in, that I was able to achieve this goal of mine that I decided I was going to do when everybody was telling me that I couldn't. And I quit telling people about it, and I just went out and did it. And that's what I wish everybody that has any problems thinking that they can achieve what they want, take this exam. They can do it if they're passionate about what they want to do or are limiting themselves in doing. They can do it, especially in the U.S. There's just no greater country than here to be able to achieve what you want.
So am I taking it the right way then, that you're thinking that there's enough uniqueness from the feedback you've gotten from friends and family over the years that you wanted to maybe pass some of these wisdoms on to other people that might be struggling? Is that kind of where you're going?
Very much, yeah. If they can use my example, yeah.
So tell me about the book. Tell me, the book is really different parts of your life woven into a story with examples. How did it start?
Well, I always been amazed, even when I think about it, as to what I did. Where did it come from? The optimism that I had, and that initially I wanted my daughter to know about my experiences.
So there's a loved one involved in
That's
the story.
right.
Okay.
Yeah. And that I started writing it, and later on, when she grew up and she was aware of this, she actually told me that she was willing to help me put all these experiences into a book. And that's how the idea of this book came to life.
So When Dreams Take Flight is really an amazing story, and there's a very poignant message buried in this book. You know, often, as I've said to our viewers many times, the greatest books in history, including my favorites, are always remembered for one thing. Now, it's different for everything, but what are readers, if nobody knows you and doesn't know the story ahead of time, but somebody gives them a copy of it, what's the biggest thing that they're going to take away from reading this story?
Well, I'm sure they will enjoy a little bit about my aviation stories, which I don't really give many of them, because I want to concentrate on letting the reader know about this kid that was starving and had the dream of once I found out what I wanted to do, the dream was to obtain it no matter what. And I couldn't take anything. People tried to discourage me, and I just went on because I was sure I could see myself doing what I eventually did. And I would like to convey this to anybody that reads this book, that they can do it. There's a lot of people that have accomplished a lot more than I have.
Right.
But there are many that are down here believing that they can't do anything, actually. And generations go by with that attitude. They don't have the optimism that you have by when I started thinking about it. There was nothing that would indicate that I wasn't going to do it to me.
So here's what I was most fascinated about by this. When I first look at it and when I heard the story of it, before I saw the cover or the name or anything, I thought it was going to be another, for family's sake, story of an incredible man with some wild adventures throughout his life. But what really I found contained in the cover was some very poignant advice about following your dreams, beyond what most books say, because some of your examples and your own story is just it's so brutally in your face. I mean, you grew up poor in Mexico City. I mean, poor in America is one thing, but we're talking Mexico City. And now you're this retired, decorated pilot. Where did the dream first come alive in you? How did you go from living in the streets of Mexico City to even thinking about flying a plane?
Well, when I was going through the hunger stage, I call it my starvation years, I was scared that my life would end that way. And when I was exposed to aviation, that's what did it. By a series of I call it a miracle, really, that I wound up going up in the air, and that I was so afraid of doing it, and then I found out that it was such a great, I guess, just the idea of being up there above everything that I was living. All of a sudden, I'm there in the pure air and at the freedom.
Well, tell us this story. Get right into it, because you were 12 years old at the time.
That's right.
So how did you end up in a plane at 12 years old?
I was trying to get a job at the airport, and I
In Mexico City.
In Mexico City, and
this is what year?
44.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
And that they kept telling me they were going to give me a job. They didn't. Eventually, in the process, the person that was going to give me the job was flying an airplane. They told me where he was going to be, so I went. He got out of the airplane and called me to get in. He motioned to me. I didn't know what he wanted me to do. I thought I was going to get a job.
Maybe sweep the plane or something.
Exactly. No, I thought that the pilot was going to taxi to the hangar, and then I would sweep the hangar, and I figured that's going to be the job, and I was okay.
You're probably okay with that.
I was okay with that. Yeah, but then he started taxiing to the runway instead of the hangar, and I was terrified about doing it because I didn't know anything about flying. I thought only super people could even think about going up. I didn't know what made an airplane fly or anything, so I was terrified, and I didn't have I was too shy, and I couldn't tell the pilot to let me out. I didn't want to do this. I was almost panicked. But he gets on the runway, and I closed my eyes because I thought I was going to die. And very soon I hear the engine revving up, and then I felt the sensation that was kind of different. I opened one eye, and I realized I saw things that I had never seen before.
Wow. It's amazing how different the world looks when you see it from a different angle.
Exactly. And since then, that's where I'm in my element, when I'm in the air. On the ground, I'm useless. I need to be up there. I'm sorry that I can't be up there now, but it was a short flight, but I knew what I wanted to do then. As soon as we landed, because up to that time, I didn't have any ambition or any idea what I wanted to do, just except survive. That was
you told me the story about getting on the bus just after that experience and how differently you saw everybody around you, even though you were still in the world's eyes the same poor child.
That's right. But not in me.
That experience changed you. What happened on the bus?
Well, I started, the first thing, I was still reliving this short flight, and there were a few people in the bus facing each other because they didn't have the type of benches that we're accustomed to now. It was just the one around the bus. And I started looking at each one of them, and I said, "You poor earthlings, I bet you've never been off the ground like I have." And right then and there, I knew that I was going to be a pilot.
At 12 years old.
Yeah. And if I mention it to any people that I respected and I loved, they tried to say, "No, you can't do it." They discouraged me. "Oh, you're crazy. How are you going to do it?" And so I quit telling people about it, and I did it. I just went out and did it. And that's when I tell people, I mean, you can do anything. If I could do it under those circumstances, most of the people can do it better, except that they limit themselves.
Right. It's almost we should, as part of an indoctrination into the teenage years of somebody, we ought to handcuff them and put them up in a Cessna the 5,000 feet above Mexico City.
There you go.
Well, I know that as you read through the book, you inevitably are led on a wild story that has so many life lessons built into it. There's stories about doing more with less. There's stories about perseverance. There's stories about love, and there's stories about anguish. I mean, it's all built into this book. What would you like people to know about their lives and the potential of their lives based on what you've got in here?
I would like them to know that if they can be passionate about anything, it doesn't have to be flying, but anything that they know, and everybody certainly in their lives wind up thinking, maybe wishing that they could be this or that, but really believe in it, that you can do it. You might not be able to do it in China or in Mexico, I guess, if I did it, but in the U.S., when I came, the U.S. in 49, the U.S. was different, no question about it, but what it is now. But it's still the best country in the world. That's the place where you can really find the freedom to do what you want to do if you let yourself do it. You're most people just limit themselves in what they can do, either themselves or the people around them.
Well, this is Donald J. Smith. My name is Ken Dunn, and I'm here, of course, with this incredible new book called When Dreams Take Flight. If you're looking for a high-level, high-energy tale that will meander through a professional pilot's life and inspire yours, don't wait another second. Thanks.